And Miss B is a bore, her train theme's a chore. Want to sit with my friend, I'm going round the bend. I feel so blue. Choo, choo, choo. I folded it up and put to Angela and Lisa, pass it on, and then quickly passed it on myself while Miss Beckworth's head was turned. It got about halfway around the class. Miss Beckworth looked up at the wrong moment. Uh-oh. Ah, said Miss Beckworth, pouncing. Someone has written a poem already, and they're so proud of it they want to pass it around the whole class. She glanced at it. Who is the author of this little rhyme, I put my hand up. I had to. Half the kids were craning round to look at me already. I thought I might be in dead trouble. Miss Beckworth was such a funny old-fashioned teacher. I didn't know what she might do to punish you. Maybe she had a cane tucked up her skirt and she'd whip it out and whack me one. But all she did was crumple up my poem and say, I don't think this is quite Emily Dickinson standard, Charlotte. Now write me a proper poem, please. I decided she wasn't such a bad old stick after all, so I tried hard with my poem. I decided to be a bit different. I chose to write about a tube, because they're underground trains, aren't they? And it was all about the dark tunnels and how that weird voice that said, mind the gap, could be the voice of the tunnel monster. Jamie peered rudely over my shoulder. You're writing rubbish, he sneered. Yours is the real rubbish, I snapped back, reading his pathetic twee twaddle about the train going through the rain in the midst of the storm, and the train will keep you warm. Ugh, yuck. But when Miss Beckworth walked around the class to see what we'd written so far, she said he made a good attempt. And do you know what she said about my poem? Try to stick to the subject, Charlotte. That was it. Told you were writing rubbish, said Jamie. So I put down my pen and didn't write another word. I had Angela and Lisa and all the other girls in hysterics in the cloakrooms after lunch doing my Miss Beckworth imitation. Even back in class, I just had to put my front teeth over my bottom lip to have all the girls in giggles. Settle down, please, said Miss Beckworth sharply. Now history. I thought this term we'd do the Victorians. I ask you, who wants to study the stuffy old Victorians? Well, guess. Jamie teacher's pet Edwards. Miss Beckworth began telling us about the Victorians, starting off with Queen Victoria herself, that fat little waddly queen with the pudding face, who said, we are not amused. Well, I wasn't amused either, especially when Miss Beckworth started on about Queen Vic pub down the road and Albert Park and how she lived in his old Victorian mansion flats, and did any of us live in a Victorian home by any chance? I slumped to one side with the boredom of all this just as Jamie stuck up his hand so violently I very nearly got 2 fingers impaled up my nostrils. I live in a Victorian house, Miss Beckworth, he said, showing off like mad, in Oxford Terrace. I sat up straight. I knew he was a right little posh knob, but I had no idea he'd lived in one of those huge grand houses in Oxford Terrace. All steps and little lion statues and incy-wincy balconies, as if the people who lived there might come and do a royal family and wave down at you. Oxford Terrace is on our way home from the town. Sometimes when Joe and I are trading back with our Sainsbury's bags, cutting grooves in our hands, we make up stuff, and we sometimes play that we live in Oxford Terrace, and we're Lady Joe and Lady Charlie, and we have champagne for breakfast, and we go out for a workout in a posh club every day, and then have a light lunch someplace snobby, and then we shop until we drop, going flash, flash, flash of our credit cards, and then we eat out and go dancing in nightclubs and chat up film stars and rock stars and football players. But we just tease them, and then jump in our personal stretch limousine and whiz home to our 5-storey, $500,000 mini palace in Oxford Terrace. You live in Oxford Terrace? I said. Even Miss Beckworth seemed surprised. Do you live in a flat there, James? No, we've got the whole house, said James airily. Well, perhaps you can help us understand what life was like in a big Victorian house, James. Miss Beckworth rummaged against a whole box of books about the Victorians. She pounced on something about Victorian houses and held up a picture of a Victorian parlour. I don't suppose your house looks much like this inside, though, James. Actually, my mum and dad have this real thing about the Victorians, and they've tried to make the house as authentic as possible. So we've got stuff like William Morris wallpaper and arts and crafts tiles, though we've got ordinary modern things like televisions and computers and stuff. I felt like I was sitting next to little Lord Fauntleroy. He carried on this sickening fashion for ages until eventually even Miss Beckworth got tired of it. Thank you very much, James. If anyone wants to know more about the Victorian houses, then you're obviously a mine of information. Now, we'll be studying the Victorians all this term in class, but I want you to all to work on your own special project at home too. I groaned. Oh, I hate home projects. You don't sound very enthusiastic, Charlotte, said Miss Beckworth. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know anything about the Victorians. Not like some people, I said, glaring at Jamie. I'll copy a whole lot of suggestions on top for topics on the board. See if you can get your famously defective eyes to focus on them, said Miss Beckworth briskly. It might be worth your while. I intend to award a prize for the best project at the end of term. So I copied out all of her suggestions. I didn't fancy any of them. Can we do more than one topic, Miss Beckworth? Said you-know-who. Can we do them all if we want? Yes, if you like, said Miss Beckworth. He was quite sickening in his enthusiasm, grabbing all sorts of stuff from the book box, though he's probably got his own private library in his Victorian mansion. Here, it's not fair you're bagging all the best books, I said, trying to snatch a book on Victorian hospitals that looked as if it might be promisingly gory. Okay, here's one especially for you, said Jamie, and he bungs me this book on Victorian domestic servants. Know your place, he goes. I was about to bash him on the head on his big head with the servant book, but Miss Beckworth got narky and told us to settle down and start the research for our project with the books we had been given in our hands. So I was stuck with the servant book. I flipped through it furiously and then stopped. There was a photo of this little girl, about my age. She even looked a bit like me, skinny and pale. It was a black and white photo, so it was hard to make out if her hair was red too. It was long, like mine, but scraped back tight behind her ears, with a little white cap crammed on top. She was surrounded by little kids, but they weren't her brothers and sisters. She was a nursery maid. She had to look after them. She was their servant. I was a bit stunned. I didn't know they used to have children as servants. I read a bit about these nursery maids and kitchen maids and housemaids. They had to work all day and into the evening as well for hardly any money. Girls as young as 11 and 12. No school, no play, no fun, just work. I decided I'd do a project on servants. I was all set to write quite a bit about it actually. I decided I'd show that Jamie. But Jo was already at home when I got back from school, and she had such terrible scary news I forgot all about my servant project. I didn't remember until the next day when everyone was showing off their project books. Jamie had done 10 whole pages about school, and he stuck in his old photo of kids in rows in a Victorian classroom and got his mum to do some lines of special copperplate handwriting. I've finished my school topic already, he boasted. So I whipped out an old exercise book and scribbled out a page at playtime. I've finished my school topic too, I said, sticking my tongue out at Jamie. Chapter 2. It's also called School. My name is Lottie. I'm 11 years old. I left school today. My teacher, Miss Worthbeck, nearly cried when I told her I could not come back. She thinks the world of me. I'm her most talented pupil. I'm not being boastful. This is exactly what she said. Dear Lottie, you are the best at English and writing and arithmetic. You know your geography and history perfectly. You play the piano well, you paint beautifully, and you sing like a lark. There. I am also useful to Miss Worthbeck because she's the only teacher at our school and she has to control a class of 40 mixed infants and 12 of us older pupils. I am not the eldest by any means. There is one great lad of 14, Edward James, but he's very slow. He's a head taller than Miss Worthbeck and she finds it hard to control this boy. In fact, many of the boys are great lummoxes, stupid and surly. Miss Worthbeck has to use her cane on them to keep them in order. I do not need to resort to the cane when I am left in charge of the boys, though I take delight in swishing it in front of them. But I usually instruct the little ones, and they all try hard for me and give me apples and bites of their gingerbread and scratch "I love Lottie" on their slates. Miss Worthbeck has always said I'm a born teacher. She's always wanted me to stay on at the school until 14, and then she would give me a position as pupil teacher with a proper wage. But I cannot wait 2 years. I need to earn a proper wage immediately.
So I now want you to think about what we have learned about Charlotte or Charlie, and what we know so far about Lottie. What do you think is similar about them and what is different about them? Try and think about that before we do the next chapter next week. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day. Bye.